I mean, you wonder why we ban the guns right now. Thomas just got his new guns. People just had a really hard understanding of who is who and what is what. And we've tried our best, and we continue to try our best to have people realize the reality in which, and most people are doing good, great. But Thomas Perron-Slote, he moved back to Canada. He's from Canada, first time home buyer in Canada, and he needs firearms here in Canada. But we had ones with firearms here in Canada, or that could potentially want to buy firearms here in Canada, that are not me, Thomas Perron-Slote, and are not the one, because it's a limited thing. Not everybody needs guns. Only certain people need guns. People with executive power, legislative power, judicial, you know? Something like that. Somebody like I am, like Justin Trudeau. And they sell guns. And the Canadian government regulates that. And the American government sells guns. But they want to learn to regulate that. In turn, to save lives, to prosper, to have all the great things of the American and the Canadian dream, that the things that there is to offer. That's why we've frozen the sale of handguns and maybe even other firearms here in Canada until ones that were supposed to buy their homes in Canada and own land and be real owners here in Canada can really own their home here in Canada. Because those ones here in Canada will be able to buy and own their firearm in Canada like they were supposed to have in Canada. They were supposed to protect and be able to protect their home and their lives and everything in Canada, but they had to be a true Canadian. And we identified that there was some untrue Canadians. Some, believe it or not, have been deported and are barred from entering Canada. Something that they thought Canada wasn't capable of doing. But we show resilience, and those people are no longer allowed here in Canada. And it feels good to be a Canadian, a true Canadian. One here that was born in Canada, that followed all the laws of Canada. The laws that the government imposed from the fundamental beginnings of the Canada that you know and love, so that we could be happy and remain to be Canada. We remember every year the history of Canada. And the ones that started it then will still be here now and still are here now. And we're creating systems, real programming to eliminate crime here in Canada and make it more of what it was supposed to be for the children that dreamed when they were young of what their life was supposed to be here in Canada. And the adults who are at a certain age where they're supposed to be in a certain place and have certain rights here in Canada. And we detected that those rights were being stolen here in Canada. So as a Canadian citizen myself, and what about the government of Canada? They're Canadian citizens that we have, that are developing. We have the system that's developed It's not a bad thing. That's maybe some of these bad organizations tried to make the government look like in Canada and many other places. And I always was one to say I'm not with those ones that are anti-government because I am the government of Canada. And you can be too with the government of Canada. And you were when you were born here in Canada and you received your birth certificate here in Canada. That was the government that issued that certificate to you. That's a very valuable certificate. And it's a certificate that many different governments issue to, well, it's to each citizen that they love so much that they want to live in their country and prosper and become something under their government. Or else they wouldn't have gave you the citizenship. There's like, you maybe wouldn't have never been born here in Canada, or you wouldn't have been born in China or France, the United Kingdom, Russia, the United States, Britain, the United Kingdom, Germany, and all that, or any other country that has government with citizenship and all that, which is a great amount. So just being alive in your country, such as my country, which is Canada, you're entitled to certain rights and all that, as long as you followed the law, and were a good citizen in Canada. You have good days, or any country. You have good days and you have bad days. But to get to the good days, you have to be humble and patient in the bad days. As many people know, there's many people that have made it here in Canada. The majority of people have made it. So if we're still talking the guns, they have the system. Canada has the system with the acquisition licenses. We all know who owns a gun here in Canada. We're supposed to. And if we don't know who owns a gun here in Canada, then that person wouldn't be going with our Canadian system, the law in which you have to follow and all that to be a true Canadian. And we've identified those ones, like the one I was talking about that got deported. But what about the ones that were being alienated that were supposed to be one of these ones in Canada that had these rights, right? That they were entitled to have here in Canada or wherever, whichever country that they reside from, they may be doing it in a different way, but it's similar, right? You get in contact by using the resources in which that your country has. But anyway, but there was ones being alienated that had deserving rights. And they really do. The government is a live, real-time system. And they identify that and they handle that, and that's why right now that's why they're saying right now too that they feel like everybody that legally deserved to own a firearm of their certain classification, especially handgun and others, they own their guns now here in Canada. Anybody further would be sort of it was sort of they know with their censusing generally when there is actually a need for real true Canadians to buy and sell firearms. It's not something that they just like a toy to them. It's not a toy gun like, hey, let's just play around with it. They see I bought my firearm legally. They see how I'm doing it. I talk to the government regularly. I didn't understand it, but now I understand it because we've talked and we've straightened it all out where now I understand it almost being 30 years old. And it took Justin time to understand it as well, and many others. It takes time to become a man or a woman. Some people get it right off the bat, it doesn't matter. But the facts are that they feel like they know their country, and the governments do, and it's your job as the citizen to accept the decisions of your government. It just so happened that the decision that they have made was beneficial for me, but not every decision is beneficial for me. So I'm not any special, really, very, very special. They don't just pick sides on everything is beneficial to me, because I've had to do jail time here in Canada before, but I had to go to court, and then eventually I never lost my rights to own own any weapons or anything. But I've even been to jail. So the argument that everything is being catered towards me is untrue. Even though we say that the harder you work, the more money you make, the more positive you are, things are going to be formulated sort of to help that for the prosperous amount. But it's not like that either. I'm under high restriction. But I've gained that responsibility of being a gun owner, and many other people have here in Canada. So it was a good time for everybody to sit down and sort of went back to square one when you first even had started with whatever. Well, for the gun owners, it brought me back to the time where I'd even first heard about guns, the base fundamentals of being a gun owner and all that. You're supposed to be a really good person. You're supposed to, et cetera, like the police. You're sort of like, well, they say you have the power of God. You're really high up here in the government as a citizen, or as service person, or as police. You're given a certain responsibility that they're letting you know that not everybody has that responsibility. Has that right either. And I've seen that. So, other than that, I don't think there's anything else to say about it. We're trying to get the illegal guns out of here. The illegal guns, the people that have these guns that they don't have a license to acquire, that they're doing illegal, that, hate to use the word illegal, they're doing bad things with the bad guns. They're not supposed to own the guns. They're bringing them in, importing them illegally. But here's the thing, even if they even with the ban, they still have the illegal guns. But now we can identify, it's sort of a tool of identification to identify. We can start to really identify and protect. We can identify the criminals, and we can protect the legal gun owners, because there is a bad criminal war going on right now, and there has been for years. If you're into law enforcement and you're into that, some people, they don't know anything of it, right? You don't hardly see it. Some people never see it, but there is. But one way so we can tackle that systematically is the way that the governments do it. In videos like this, awareness. We can identify, is this person illegally trafficking firearms? Have you heard about somebody doing bad things, murdering people with their firearms and all that? Everybody has to work together sometimes to take some of these big figures out. Without everybody's cooperation, these people can go undetected for lifetimes. Before we detect them, it's already too late. But we've always been really good at detecting them. So we say. But at the same time, we're not. I mean, there's been some great atrocities. Not as many in Canada, but there has been. If you do your research, there has been. And one way we can try to continue to eliminate that is through that. And what was I going to say? And protecting the ones, like I said, that grew up here in Canada that have that right to own a home, have, like I had said, I don't believe that people should have caches of large amounts of weapons. It should be limits. There should be limits. If you own a large home and you're like of a significant person, we're talking money, power when it came to, like me, I'm big in entertainment and I'm a systematic programmer for the government and all that. I work with the government. So I'm a 1 in a million. But if you are 1 in a million, and that's like me, I think I should deserve a rifle. So how it is in Canada, I think it's most service people, they're allowed to I think they're, even with service people, should be limited. 1 or 2 handguns at most, maybe just 1 or 2 handguns at most to own, even as a wealthy individual, and one rifle, 1 shotgun. There's people that have 20 rifles, 20 shotguns, 30 handguns. You don't know where they are. That shouldn't be allowed. But it is. Currently, it is. If you have your PAL, you can have 20 rifles, 5 rifles. No, we're changing that. It's got to be limited. And if you don't like it and you get mad and all that, you're considered a terrorist, and we will eliminate you. Or you'll be sent to one. It's basically, it's out of hand. You could even immigrate to the United States. I think they allow you to have it unlimited. But even in the United States, they're saying they might limit it. That's how you fix it. 1 rifle. And what was I saying? You have to buy it yourself. Your dad can't buy it for you. It's a right that you work up, getting a job or what have you, or whatever way that you worked to buy your firearm, unless it's sort of a family business and you guys are at a slaughterhouse. That's a certain zoning. That has to do with property ownership, with real estate. You can see this person owns a farm zoned home. That's why they can own a firearm. If you don't own or rent at all, you can't own one. Period. It's illegal. You can't get a PAL. Well, I think it's like that with the PAL. But how about limitations? Only one. Who needs 5 rifles? That's warfare. You want to have multiple people that are having rifles. It should be 1 rifle per person that is legally able to acquire. So if you want a brand new rifle, that's your rifle, and then you have to either destroy it, sell it, or trade it to get a new one. You can't have that's how it always was. You chose your caliber. It's either you wanted a 223, you wanted a 5.56, or you wanted a 22, or you wanted You wanted all different rifles, but you didn't have that. You just had one because it's creating the illegal market to where they can sell their guns and create all these undercover businesses. I mean, these are government people. These are people that were army. These were people that were police. These were people that were higher up in the community that had 50 guns and they were selling them. Hundreds of guns, selling them. And they're still here in Canada today undercover playing as normal citizens. And the only way we can identify them is to continue to place these limitations and restrictions to where you can only own one gun in each classification. So you can own one handgun as a person, you can own one rifle, and you can own one shotgun. And then as soon as they start going to war with us, going to war with Canada and becoming terrorists, you have to eliminate them by ballistic missile. So it's not hard to do. So people, they get scared. They're like, oh my gosh, this person's got all these guns and they're threatening us over here in such and such. Because we're the government and we know what's going to help the country and save lives. So I've always been a big fan of, like in the United States, because I got to live down there and my great friends are U.S. Marines and U.S. Army. Okay, so I know about the ballistic missile technology. There's some small, nice, very accurate missiles. You don't have to send any people on the ground. You just send 1, 2, 3, or 5 of these missiles at those ones that are the super criminals that even strike fear in our legal leaders. Like the ones like that, you know the ones. Okay, I'm not gonna, but they strike fear into Justin. They have 50 guns. They have sons and they have not daughters, but they have these sons and all these friends. And they say, oh, if you limit the guns to one rifle, we're gonna shoot you and kill you and da da da. Well, that's when all you have to do is you send out the ballistic missile to their logistic. And then they're eliminated, and you no longer have that terrorist threat here in Canada. And we can continue to save our lives here in Canada. And with the ballistic missile, you'll eliminate the threat. You'll eliminate the illegal firearms that they had, caches and caches. Drugs, because they had illegal drug businesses behind their firearms. Everybody's sick and tired of drugs. And everybody's sick and tired of these ones that have 50 rifles and they're known for being who they are. And we're saying it's limited and you're not allowed to, and we're saying that, yeah. And that's a ballistic missile. Here's a bigger one. And Canada has them. And so does the United States. And Canada and the United States, well, the United States is here, and we're all trying to figure this out. How we're going to eliminate gun crime. How we're going to eliminate and we're doing a fair job at it. Gun crime is down. The homicides are down comparative to 7 years ago. We did that with my other system. We eliminated the drugs. We didn't eliminate all the drugs. It's impossible to eliminate all the drugs. Everybody knows. But what goes hand in hand with the drugs is the guns, the illegal ones. The war on drugs, it never ended. We made a big feat. the war on drugs, it never ended when they said it ended, but we've gotten it, we've the drugs, we're cleaning it right up. They didn't even have any idea. They were like chickens with their heads cut off after Nixon. Obama just would shrug and smile, and they would all just smile, and people and all that, right? But that was me, StacksAMilli. And no matter what anybody tells you, I am a true police officer, service person for the United States and Canada is where I come from, but it's for the entire world. But drugs are for a certain purpose. I was just in the hospital. Drugs can help, but not when it is tied in with these illegal cartels, these illegal syndicates. We've legalized marijuana, and that's been pretty great, and it's starting to really get better now. It's had a good effect, but here's the thing. We're almost at the final solution. I know it scares people, that term, the final solution. But it's a really healthy term. It's a really good thing. The final solution is there will be no tolerance on the illegal guns and the illegal crime and the illegal drugs. It has to be done through the legal means. The hospitals, the government set up the legal marijuana for ones that were addicted, or the ones that, hey, there's some ones that like to enjoy their marijuana. Germany and the government, or Germany and the Nazis, we don't have to hate them. They weren't the worst. They had a lot of great ideas, as people have said, and they had that government that was pretty good. They had some good stuff, but they weren't good, right? Because we came and we changed that and we fixed it and yada yada. But we don't have to be haters. So we don't have to hate on German history and what we got out of it, because we learned a lot from German history. And drugs aren't the best thing. German history told us that and all that. So don't get too infatuated with the marijuana. It's more of a every once in a while. But now you won't be persecuted for it or prosecuted. When you do finally relax and want to enjoy that, you can do that without fear of, can you believe it? Fear of being, there were so many things that, believe it or not, were just around marijuana. And those ones that had their grasp around marijuana, believe it or not, they're still here around us, but they lost significant power. They lost significant power. But now me and Justin and everyone are realizing it wasn't just the marijuana that the criminals had their grasp around. It was also guns, human trafficking. You had ones that thought, these ones, during our big undercover investigation and infiltration, you had ones when I actually infiltrated their mob in real life. They couldn't believe it. In the same office, the same breath of air, right in front of them. We even touched each other. We even slept in the same jail cells and all that. To get to this point now with the government. Hey, Justin even had to do it. Where we've got it figured out. You know that big battle between the cops and the robbers, the criminals versus And the bad cops, we have a system to get those ones too now. The ones that are thinking about going crooked. They see our castles and they think by going crooked, they will get a castle, crooks and castles. But that's not the case. No crook will ever own a castle here in Canada or anywhere else in the world for that matter. It's fun to play a robber and all that and back and forth on the games. I love CSGO. You can even play as a terrorist on CSGO, Counter-Strike Go. And I've always been a great fan of liberty and freedom of expression and freedom of speech and being able to enjoy all the awesome things that we have. Like you can play as a terrorist and play as a back and forth and all that. As the officer, or you can be the bad person, all that in the game. But then remember when they said that people were playing the video games and that they were doing it in real life and all that. Like they were playing the games, GTA 5, and then they were going around in real life and all that. Not in Canada. That's Obama's politics. Under Thomas Perron-Slote, this is just a game. You may have 50 AK-47s in the game or whatever, but down in the U.S., you don't have 50 AK-47s. But under Obama and their government, you know what it is. This guy played GTA 5, and now in real life, he's got 50 guns that'll really kill you, and they're really running around like GTA 5, and Obama's laughing like GTA 5. And hey, wasn't that on GTA 5? But that's how they're running their government, like GTA 5. And how we run it in Canada is in real life, reality. And why does he have 50 rifles? Like I said, you should only have one rifle. Are you a U.S. service person? Because a U.S. service person only has generally one rifle, and that's their duty rifle. And you know how much that rifle costs? And we wonder why we're in such a budget trouble. Because that is a very expensive rifle. Just the scope and the sights on that rifle are hundreds and hundreds of dollars. Something that if you work for half a month, a whole month at McDonald's, Burger King, you don't even have enough money to buy that rifle. You get a $600 paycheck. That rifle costs $2,500. It would take somebody to work at Burger King 4 months to save up to buy that one rifle. But something's going on and wrong with our system with this Obama that we let in, all that. They let the real criminals in, and it's not a legal right. The legal right is the right to bear arms. The right isn't to form a militia and have like big gangs and like Grand Theft Auto and like in real life and like mass shooting and like murders, like homicide rates are unbelievable. We own property in the United States and like it's not safe. Like, yeah, there's the right to keep and bear arms. And when they had the plural with the formation of arms, I think they meant like maybe one rifle and one shotgun and maybe a handgun. Because at one time in my life, a handgun was like you had a rifle or a shotgun at home, and a handgun was like, Tommy, if you really made it, you had a handgun too to carry with you wherever you went in town. You had a handgun on you. Like, generally, families had a rifle or a shotgun at home. But you generally wouldn't carry your rifle or shotgun with you everywhere you went. Sometimes some people would put it on in their truck and all that. But if you're a really high up guy, you eventually saved up your money and you got a pistol and you started concealed carrying and all that. Right? And that was at the most of it. And then it was like, yeah, we have the right to open carry. That's so that you can carry your rifle for when times, you need to carry your rifle. So if you want to go hunting and you're open, carrying on your way to the hunting grounds, instead of it being an illegal crime, which it could be, you're open carrying to where you need to go because you're a legal person. So, because that's how it is. So but it is legal to open carry. You can open carry generally in a lot of places wherever you want to. But I always been a person that if you're purposely open carrying in a certain place that you know is going to be a nuisance, then you're being a nuisance. That's against the law. So if you're a law-abiding American and you know that this is going to be a nuisance, then you're already sort of going against your whole MO. You're supposed to be this law-abiding American. Now, if you don't determine any nuisance with where you determine that you're going to be open carrying, or if you are, generally it was always you want to avoid the nuisance, right? Or generally there was a real reason why you're legally choosing to open carry. Like say I had a hunting trip planned and we're going over this one property and I take the firearm out of my truck, and which I don't own a truck. But I knew this from the get-go, and this would be the only reason if I ever do own a truck, if I did ever own a rifle. You know what I mean? So that's got out of hand. Because now I'm a firearm owner. I owned a firearm when I was a kid. Then I chose to move back to Canada and start over here and try to make it here. And it worked out so great. I'm even part of the government now. And like I said, I'm a firearm owner. I don't own a rifle, though, because that's what I do want to own is a rifle. But this video is not about me owning a rifle, because I know that won't be for 20 years, 30 years. I may never own a rifle. But what it is that people are just settling down. They realize now that there's just way too many rifles. There's just way too many guns. Now, we love our guns. I love that technology. And some people, like some of the most famous ones, like that Dragon Man, they own a lot of firearms. And Dragon Man, he's a little bit different because I think he owns a gun store. So a lot of people, they buy their singular firearm off of Dragon Man. They wanted to have a right to bear arms. See, Dragon Man is 1 in a million. I know the American history, and there's only a few of him. And I might remind you, there's 355 million Americans. So when I say 1 in a million, there's more than one type of guy like a Dragon Man that has this license, right? That's how I learned it. So Dragon Man is a very high up man. He's government. There was just never no system to let folks know. It was all word of mouth. It was like kids just didn't know it. It was like some dads and moms thought the kids was born with it, and they weren't born with the knowledge. It has to be like systematically put in front of them, like school and all that, so them to understand. Like Dragon Man, that guy on YouTube is like he's like a government. He's not just not everybody can be him. He has a special license that, you know how old that guy is? He's very old. And I'm nowhere near his age. And then not only that, but it also came to not only his age, but all different factors. And not everybody, including me, could be that man. But you have this false American dream that everybody thinks they're going to be this dragon man with like all these guns and they're going to be able to, and that ain't it. I guess that Black Rambo is kind of like the white version of if he if he, but he could choose to go any way. I'm not a racist person. He has the right to own his guns. He's gotten extremely famous. He could go any way with it. He could be an American citizen. He could be a very good person and say that. But here's the thing. What about all these other kids and all that? What about all the other kids? We could make it to where Rambo was this military guy. He earned his achievements. That's like a Barack Obama. But for 25 years, kids, it's going to be more regulated because black, and you know what I mean? Because you got to earn your right, just like Rambo earned his right at a certain time to be that certain person that he is in the certain time that we developed this system, this military system, rankings, just like in the video game, classification. But they are saying that some of the ones that are able to have all these firearms, they want to add another classification system to where you can't have like 50 rifles. You got to only own like 3 or 1 or 5. And if they ever, but here's the thing. If they make the choice to go against the government or whatever, the government will always, everybody knows that they'll always succeed. That's why a lot of people always they turn themselves into the police, even if they have firearms and all that. There's a high population of African Americans that have firearms. I believe African Americans should be able to own firearms, just like everyone else. But I think that everybody should be held accountable to the same law, where if I can only have 1 firearm, you could too. Like, but there is. We got Hickok 45, but he's getting old. But firearms are a big business, I guess they're saying. And when they make a firearm sale, it's a pretty big, large amount of money that they're making. So they don't mind selling firearms large, more, and like hey, if somebody, he wants a new one, He's a collector. He likes the different styles of firearms, just like I do. You know, you get into a certain documentary and then you want a Mauser, or you get into Russia, now you want AK-47. You get into America and you want a Bushmaster. Yada, yada. You get it. But is it really like that? No. Because do I have as many children as I want to have? No. For all the TV shows? That's this one Simpsons episode. He's like, this one's from, he has all these children. And he's like, this one's from this TV show, that TV show, this TV show. So I guess, I mean, but oh my God, they do have it like that. But then the rest of the world says that you like to pick on the rest of the world and really just shit on them because you have so many guns and you think you're so powerful. And then but then that causes war. Something that we don't want to see because war is bad. People get hurt. But the winner of the war gets all this money or whatever they think and say. But equal powers on all sides. They say if everybody went to war, it would be a complete world destruction. So we came to that conclusion, that if everybody went to war, because they were hungry and all that, that there would be a big nuclear war and everybody in the whole world would blow up and everybody would die. So then that would be terrorism, because people want to live. Not everybody wants to die. We don't want to see world destruction. We always want our leaders. That's how I seen it. We brought our leaders into power to not have world destruction. We want to move forward, or else that was a terrorist government. And some of the ones that are high up in government that have lots of money, that have been given this and given that, they're not actually really educated. They just have the power and the button to push it. Okay? And they don't even know anything really. Because they're just women or they're just old men. But they play their role. They play their role really nicely. We wouldn't have movies like this and all that if it wasn't for them. But yeah, we do need more gun limitation. You just can't have so many guns. It just starts so many wars. It makes people feel like they're so powerful. You should have the right to bear arms, just like the government was started and said. If you want any more power, that's like Nazi Germany when Hitler went nuts and he started invading like all these places. And then they had to put Hitler and Hitler ended up killing himself and blah 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 blah. We learned that in history. When people get too powerful. How I seen it was relatively, we already know where our jurisdictions are. The system's been built. We're all smart enough to know what we are, who we are, and everybody is so interconnected now with the internet. We're all friends and family all across the globe, no matter what continent that you live on. But believe it or not, we've seen it with the Iraq War, and now we're seeing it with Africa, and we've seen it with South America, and we're seeing it with South America. You just got ones that just don't get it. Like as a people or whatever, and that is when we're supposed to deploy our militaries and yada yada to not only strike fear. What is fear? It's about elimination of the ones that are going to hurt our world, our economy, our mortgage payments, our rent payments, our food in the fridge, our toilet paper. But believe it or not, it's not. These ones put our necessities our necessities don't matter to those people. They just want to take with their Zulu mentality. My friend Matthew Earls of the U.S. Marines, he used to talk about this Zulu mentality. Now, not all Zulu is bad. Not all Haitians are bad either, and we learned a lot about that. How about that spell we've been under for the past 15 years? That voodoo spell, that voodoo charm? We've been under the voodoo charm for the past 15 to 20 years. Not even our DNA wants to play with voodoo. And when I say DNA, I look at people's children, right? Because I grew up in the United States, in Canada and all that. And then I get to see like some of the people I grew up with have children and all that. Or what about ones that I didn't even know? And then I see their children, and I can see it in their eyes, and I can see it in their skin, and I can see it in their complexion. That they're tired of the voodoo. And you know who brought that voodoo in? Barack Obama. And if it wasn't with me, they want to kill me because I have this voice. Before Barack and before George W. and all that, you see what's been happening? They've been coming in and take over. They shot JFK, and then they just keep coming in and doing this and doing that. And now we have one of their biggest, that Rick Ross. He puts out that voodoo music. He's very powerful down there in Georgia. Like I said, they got hundreds of guns, and they kill people for real. Women, children. And they get away with it. You know why? Barack Obama, Kamala Harris. That's their people. Well, even Kamala Harris and Barack Obama are sick of fucking Rick Ross and all that. They're sick of the music. Especially Rick Ross, the past 15 years, 20 years. The effect he had on the economy. You know, how did he have an effect on the economy? The guns, the drugs, the voodoo, the racism, the anti-white racism. Honky this and donkey dory that. We hate white people. Da 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 da. And then it makes us look like idiots because you're out there saying, I'm a white person. Da da da. Because you thought you had to stand up and demonstrate. But it ain't about intimidation. It's about identifying the ones that are making Americans feel uncomfortable and intimidated. And yeah, you do have a side to it. In the Bible, I think that's the first account where you start to get into that, where you have David and Goliath. You have the bigger they are, the harder they fall. You have sometimes with the Americans, they like to hunt. You have all different aspects to it. But I always seen that as a bear, not as any sort of human. So we like to prize kill animals. That means that we kill an animal, and then we put it onto a mantle and yada yada. There's taxidermists. It's part of American history. We do hunt and we do sport. And I'm a huge fan of sporting and hunting and things. But I'm also a huge fan of being an intellectual. One capable of doing things like writing the Declaration of Independence and all the other things that we learned from to get to the point that we're at now. That was why we honored those things so highly. Because a man was capable of picking up a pen, another piece of technology, and writing things that were going to help and things that were going to. It was creating this system. It was more than helping. It was so we weren't these rabid animals. We were humans. We were more than any other animal. We weren't even animals. We aren't even animals altogether. We were humans. We were so intellectual. But it does come down to war like that. And then I always say, then you're being too intellectual. There was a law against that, right? It's the law of robbery and murder and stuff. You say, well, I'm super intellectual because I could take my firearm right now and shoot you and kill you and take the money out of your pocket. Because in your animal mind, it would be very profitable at that very second to pull your firearm out or kill somebody and then steal from their pockets. But it's gone on in history for thousands of years, since they used to cut off the hands of ones and all that it didn't always work out like that, because there was more people behind it and all that. There was reasons why you didn't murder. It said in the Bible, thou shalt not kill. Because humans had this systematic government and all that. Get back to the Romans and all that. They used to prosecute criminals. To this day, they prosecute criminals. You know why? Because it messes up the economy for everybody that's following the law. Because the law keeps everything good and holy and straight and narrow. It's the best way of doing things is by the law. Everybody knows that chooses not to follow the law, that they're going to either end up dead or in prison. They know they might get away with it for 1 day, a million, or not a million years, 20 years, 25 years, 60 years. They might get away with it for a little time, but they no longer will get away with it once that you can prove that they're a criminal in the criminal justice system. Now, if this person, now you have to defend yourself under the criminal justice system. This is a great system that was created by man to find a true evil criminal person. Remember, we said there's some real criminal evil people, believe it or not. They will show their own evil. It will come out of them in snake form. And once it comes out of there, we can account and record, and we can identify exactly who the criminals are, right? Generally, the people that are true criminals, they'll try their hardest not to be tried. And they'll threaten to destroy the criminal justice system, the same system that we developed. Because you could choose to be with the law or against the law. I would choose to be with the law. I chose to be with the law. Some people accidentally choose the other side of the law. I always see in the wood gavel, I said, we have lots of wood. Why would I not be the guy with the wood gavel on the, why would I not be on the team of the guys that own the wood gavels when we have so much wood and all that? But some people are born and they're at the perspective where, oh, that's a wooden gavel. And they have the wooden gavel and I don't. And then they begin to hate the government and they say all these bad things and they try to create these anti-government systems and these anti-government musics and all that. But then it doesn't work. But it always becomes sometimes becomes educational. It always is educational. And it takes a while. They start to realize, oh, but this is the government, and that's the government, and this is the government, and without the government, I wouldn't even be alive. And then the government can help them in different ways to change their life, to work together in society, within society. And that's what the criminal justice system is. It's to help you realize what life is. If you had a hard understanding of to what our system is. You don't have to get into the system if you don't want to. That's freedom of. We have a lot of freedoms. It's not about restriction, really. There's so much freedom. You can do whatever you want. You don't have to watch this movie or this documentary or what have you, or just you could just stop it and feel free to go anywhere, do anything. Have something to eat, have something to drink. Yogurt's good. It's got the antibiotics or what have you. Not antibiotics. What is it called? Probiotics. When you're feeling down, yogurt will make you feel a lot better. But not too much yogurt. The Statue of Liberty. Did you know that came from France or Italy? There is some people that don't realize that there is people that love them. I was like that. But they understand, and many people understand. You might be in with yourself, and you have the freedom to be in with yourself. But then eventually there's a realization. And it feels good to realize you're free.